right, June, let's do it. We're going to walk over here. Look at these gorgeous
New Guinea and Patience.
New Guinea and what you have done.
But it's the red buds that are really starting to look great.
Everything looks great. Are you kidding? I mean, a serenity garden, you couldn't be more peaceful.
Well, everything has its season, doesn't it? Including us.
Yeah, oh boy, that's for sure. Hi, I'm Sunny Goldberg, and welcome to Know Your Neighbors on one of the most beautiful days of the whole summer/now fall. Sitting with my neighbor and the chairman of the Harbor Island Conservancy, June Ottinger. June, thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you for this weather.
It's not hard to talk me into coming to this park and looking at that gorgeous view.
Oh my God, this is such a gift to all of us. And I love your Serenity Garden, which we will talk about.
Actually, it's not my Serenity Garden. It belongs to the village. And it's here because we wanted all villagers to have an opportunity to use the park. And although a lot of people like to sit on those gorgeous benches that line the harbor, some of us, as we get older or have other needs, can't get over there as easily. And that's when I realized that we needed to have an area that was for all ages and all capabilities to sit, relax, and enjoy the park. And you notice we have quite a bit of space here for people to sit and relax.
It's wonderful. Okay, now we're going to start backwards. June Ottinger from Alabama?
Originally, yes.
Wow. And how'd you get here? Tell us a little bit about your history.
I was working for American Banknote in Atlanta, and they moved me to their New York office on Broad Street near Wall Street. And I lived in the city for 10 years, and then I met my husband, Richard Ottinger, and he drugged me crying and screaming from the city to Mamaroneck.
I understand that.
And
had he been living in Mamaroneck?
He was actually representing Mamaroneck.
Oh, that's
he was
right.
still
He
in
was
Congress,
our representative, right?
And so during the week, he would stay with me in the city. I was working on Madison Avenue, Midtown, and he would walk me to work. And then he would catch the shuttle to D.C. because he had to be there at 10 o'clock. And so for about the last year of his congressional term, he had already said he wasn't running, but every weekend I would come to Westchester with him. I walked those streets of Mount Vernon, Mamaroneck, greeting the constituents.
New Rochelle.
New Rochelle definitely had an office there, but the interesting thing was the more that I saw Mamaroneck and met the people, I did fall in love with it. And so eventually we gave up the apartment in the city, and we were living where we are living now.
Well, I keep thinking Ottinger delivers. My congressman, I'll never forget his slogan, but Dick and you moved here, but you didn't just move here, you got very involved. You even were a trustee, correct?
Correct. This was many years ago, but I was always interested in, well, as are you, in the environment, recycling. The village was doing an excellent job at the time, so I started out on that committee, and I was working at that time. I had left the Wall Street area, and I was working for Save the Children in Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a little more time because it wasn't quite as demanding, the hours, and I served in a couple of the different committees in the village on, it was just then the Harbor Committee rather than Harbor Coastal Zone. But I got involved in the workings in the village, and when I had the opportunity, I ran for trustee.
You know, it's so funny when you said it was back then Harbor. I remember when the first president of the Harbor Island Conservancy was living almost across the street.
Fred and Julia Longacre, right.
Yeah. And God bless him, he was here like you all the time. But you were on your hands and knees cleaning up picking weeds, doing this unbelievable garden. But Fred and Julia literally started the whole thing.
Well, there's a story to that one. We had a group of people that were sitting at the Desmonds' dining room table, and we were discussing the need to clean up the sewage that was polluting the harbor.
Right.
Our goal was to get swimmers back into the water here because we have the most gorgeous beach.
Right.
And the Desmonds were such advocates for getting the sewage district to do the work, to get the village to do the work, to stop the illegal hookups. But in those meetings, this is so funny, the group of us that were trying so hard to get the village usable to the public again for swimming, there was also a group that wanted the park to look better.
Yes.
And so at every meeting, we would have a yin and a yang. People would have a lot to say about the look of the harbor, and then we'd have a lot to say about the cleanliness. And suddenly we realized, this is actually two groups. One is an advocacy group, and the other is a group that really wants to do, we wanted to fix the park. We wanted to make the entrance more beautiful. So we said, you know what we need to do is just have two groups. And at that time, I don't know if any of you remember Fred Longacre, but he was not one to suffer in silence.
No.
And I knew that the Desmonds had done an amazing job with getting the information to the county, to the sewage district, to the village. And so I went with Fred and Julia because I really felt that we might need someone that
was verbal.
that could work with a lot of people.
Yes.
And it turned out that in 2003, believe it or not, we incorporated as a 501c3. So we actually celebrated our 21st anniversary this year. But over that time
Of the Harbor Island Conservancy.
of the Harbor Island Conservancy,
And you have a group of people who come and help you. You guys have meetings, you have...
we have an amazing board, but in addition to that, there are so many people in the village that when we need help with a project, they are there. That one of the largest projects we did was the playland over by the tennis courts.
Right.
And Harbor Island Conservancy has always been an advocate for working with all of the knowledgeable people, volunteers as well as organizations. So when it came to designing that park, we worked with the Historical Society to find out the real history of the tugboats that would come in. And so we actually named one of the pieces of equipment after that tugboat because we wanted to incorporate the history as well as a beautiful park.
That's what a group of people who are dedicated can do. I mean, I'll never forget that playground and working on that playground
Right.
and selling
Hundreds of people
and naming the benches and carrying on with the little plaques and the oh my God. And I must say, that's what's so unique about Mamaroneck Village is there are people who are so adamant that they are willing to volunteer their time, like you and your whole group, John Ferris. I mean, we could go on and on. My husband, Brad, they love gardening and making this place look beautiful. And look what it's done. Really, I thank you. And
one of the important parts, just as I wanted people to be able to come and sit and enjoy the view, we also wanted a place in the park that would allow people to come and sit together, to be able, and so what better than a playground? But actually, a very good friend of mine had said one time that you can solve all problems if you just get people to sit and talk together and
listen to each other
and listen
talk.
to each other. And
Absolutely.
so you'll notice that in the middle of the playground is a big covered area with just seating around because, like you say, there are many people in the village that have good ideas, and the more that you get people sharing. As a matter of fact, the person who told me that was Pete Seeger when he was working, all the work he's done to clean up the Hudson. And he just said, there's no problem that can't be solved when people get together and discuss and talk.
Wow, I think it's really true. And I'm hoping that the anger, hatred kind of stuff kind of dissolves here. We have a new group who are working on that. And I have always found that in the committees, at least, a group of very positive, anxious to do the right thing people. And I think that's such a gift, really. Now, June, you guys have been here for a long time.
It's been over 40 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we're longer. 49, we beat you. but it feels like it's gone so quickly, and change is happening. There's no doubt about it. I can see the boats out there. Actually, we were sitting on our boat the other night, and we were eating and watching the harbor, people walking all the way down to the end of the pier. When I did the Harbor Island, when I did the fair.
Oh, yes.
I got to tell you, you couldn't go all the way down, and now things are really opening up, and that there's a lot to be done.
And we have some really, even people on our committee, Beverly Sherrod that heads up the tree committee, we have on our board people who have been involved in the village through other capacities, but with the knowledge, the Committee for the Environment, the Tree Committee, they all, anytime that we have a project, we reach out to all of these very knowledgeable groups to help us to come, like I say, when you talk to people, you can solve any problem, but we do try to come up with the best solution for the way to achieve what our goal is. And we do have goals, Oh, please ask me what one of our next ones.
Okay, what's your next goal?
Harbor Island Conservancy, we have been so lucky and thankful for the people who have donated money. This is a 501c3. We do not take money from the village to do these projects. This project, we fundraised for a couple of years, and we did hire a group that was local to do the hardscape. And Dave Graft is also a amazing landscaper who used to work with Nabels as their main landscaper, but he loves this park. And so in 2003 and 4, when we first started doing the plantings in the median to beautify this park as well, this landscaping as well as around the gazebo, he doesn't charge us anything like what he should, but he has been so dedicated, and he has a very good eye for trying to find the right plants. Obviously, we want native plants that
and
are
you've done that.
low maintenance.
You've done
but
that.
Our next project, when you live on the water, you should always maintain your water views. And so the area along Rushmore Avenue, near the little small playground, we want to clean out behind. There's a lot of invasive and what I just call, no plant is a weed, it's just growing in the wrong place. And there's a lot of plants that are growing in the wrong place over there. So what we'd like to do is to open that up and to plant some of the plants that you see over here, the sedges, the low grasses, things that are very good for the insects, places that they can winter over.
But you can still see it.
And they only get no more than what, I would say maybe 2 feet at the most, so that as you are walking along that pathway, you are able to see the harbor. And well, as well as I, going up Rushmore Avenue, it's the school, it's the clubs.
Exactly.
There's so many people that come into Mamaroneck, into Mamaroneck that don't live here. And they need to be able to see what a gorgeous community we live in.
It's so funny when you said that. Going back to the historic Harbor Street Fair, 2003, I met Laura Heiss.
Oh.
God bless her. And we have dedicated, or your group has dedicated to Laura, an unbelievable person who loved. She did the art and antiques for me at the historic Harbor Street.
Such a wonderful person. She had such visions and could help me figure out because of her drawings. As a matter of fact, when we first talked about this, Laura and I stood right here.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to give me an idea of what it could look like. So I gave her kind of the spec sheet,
I know,
which
and
is
she just makes it come to life. I've never seen anything like it.
It was so beautiful that we actually used it a year or so ago to help raise the money to fund this. And she passed away far too soon.
But she did see this in the making. There's no doubt about that.
She walked her dog here just as you do. And people who are here in the park every day, they can see what is good and what needs to be improved. And she was my inspiration.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you have that little plaque to Laura. We lost her way too soon. She and Bob and Alex and their whole family are just the best. Wonderful people. She was so helpful in every way. She knew every name of every person in the whole village.
And every dog.
And every dog. And it's because of her. She went to Norman Rosenblum and said, I want dogs to be able to be in the park.
That's right, she did.
So she helped us let them in. And I'm wondering, June, can we take a walkabout and take a little look at what you guys have done here?
Why don't we walk up to the gazebo and because I want to check some of the plants up there. But as a matter of fact, the gazebo is there. We had initially purchased it, Harbor Island Conservancy had purchased it as the booth where they take in the money for parking.
Oh, that's right.
And you'll notice it's very open, and we suddenly realized that there are people working there with a lot of cash, and there's nothing to protect them. And so we decided that there really needed to be more of a cashier's booth.
But you saved the gazebo.
And we thought, what would be a good idea? And like I say, I look around the park, and when I see the views, I thought, we need something that's not only a beautiful view of the harbor, but also I want people on the street to see that there's a nice place to come and sit.
Can I tell you how many times?
Into a gorgeous place.
You know how many times we come by and there's a wedding or a graduation or something at that gazebo? I think it is just so charming and really well used. Okay, let's go take a look. Wow. Okay, June, we're now at your gazebo. It's absolutely charming.
And very well used.
And very well used, and you guys must have painted it. And
actually, it has maintained its look. I do spray it down every now and then, but as you can see, this grass of the bamboo grass, it is one of the grasses that it stays low, very colorful, and it kind of softens the look up from the street into the park.
So that's what you're talking about doing over at Rushmore. That kind of lower level.
Absolutely. The bamboo grass is a very healthy perennial. As all of these, by the way, are perennials except for this small little area right here in front that we just put the New Guinea impatiens just for summer color. But in the wintertime, the bamboo grass will be the only really remaining. And then it kind of, like you say, it just frames the gazebo, which I love driving by and seeing people sitting in it.
Yeah, it must give you a great sense of accomplishment.
And because of these pathways that we were able to do when we did do the gazebo, it's easy for people who have special needs to be able to come to the gazebo area. And again, it's a beautiful view off to the distance so that they have an opportunity to sit and relax and enjoy.
Also, there's a seat back there, and my grandkids, Lucy and Leo, love climbing on those rocks. And I've seen many people just sitting there watching the kids climb.
Yes.
You have a share book situation where you can put books that have already been read.
Right. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I thought that was terrific.
I don't know who is responsible for that, but when I saw it, I thought, what a brilliant idea.
It is. And it's just about bringing a group of people, a whole village. You know, it takes a village.
It does take a village. We're right here, right next to Boston Post Road, so everyone that coming up and down can see what a gorgeous park we have.
Yeah. I know that when I come down and we meet to where I first see the harbor, my heart beats a little faster because
Well, especially during the cherry blossom time.
oh God, it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful.
And talk about beautiful right now. Those crepe myrtles are just blooming their hearts out, and they will go up until those blooms will stay until the very first frost.
Well, Miss June, if anybody hasn't seen you here, down on your knees, weeding and whatever, then they aren't looking because you're usually here.
I try to pick up the sticks. You know, we're right in a forest, but you know, there's a lot of beautiful trees here, and as all trees have limbs that fall, then I try to just come and pick up and just check to make sure that everything is working well. I don't have to do as much of the intense weeding because the landscaping was done so well, and all of the perennials are catching on now so that they fill in the spaces. Like you can say, how thick everything has been planted, so that it takes very little maintenance, but you do have to pick up the sticks.
And we have to thank DPW for their part in this, and
the park management. They do an amazing job.
They do. And if you have not come down to see this or sat in Serenity Garden, you're missing out. We thank June for taking the time
Harbor
today.
Island Conservancy.
That's right. And you'll always see somebody down here working. Thank you for watching. And again, it is my pleasure to know my neighbor, June Ottinger. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.